On January 2nd, 2019, it was announced that professional wrestlers Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks had officially formed a professional wrestling promotion, serving as co-executive vice presidents as well as competitors. 6 days later, the promotion named All Elite Wrestling held their first press conference, where they announced various signees and detailed their strategy for their new promotion, promising to provide an alternative to fans and change the face of professional wrestling for the better. One area they leaned heavily on in terms of change was women's wrestling.
We want it to be a strong women's division with the best female wrestlers in the entire world.
Chief Brand Officer Brandi Rhodes shared AEW's plans to treat the women's division equally to the other divisions, emphasizing their passion and dedication for women in wrestling.
We care about our women. They are top talent.
However, the stats on AEW's first year show their passion and dedication for women's wrestling might not have been as strong as they initially led fans to believe. I'm Jay from Midcard Maniacs, and today we're going to explore how AEW can live up to their own hype and improve the women's division. This list will detail where AEW falters in comparison to other promotions, or in comparison to their own promises, and how they can improve operations and the overall image of the AEW women's division. Add wrestling veterans with solid in-ring style and execution. Anyone who watches wrestling will tell you that in-ring execution is the first place where a fan can tell that development of a roster is lacking sufficient time and energy. The easiest way to create better wrestling? Sign wrestlers with more experience. Looking at this list, the years of experience ranges from 24 years to only 2 years, and that's a pretty huge range, so what's the issue? Most of the veterans are not wrestling, and those that are just wrestling each other. Awesome Kong has 17 years experience, but right now she's actually acting as the muscle of Brandi's following, the Nightmare Collective. Emi Sakura has 24 years experience, and Riho, AEW's first women's champion, has 13. But if you continuously put them in a feud against each other, the greener wrestlers aren't benefiting from their in-ring experience. Put Emi in the ring with someone like Sadie Gibbs, who only has 2 years experience, and both women are bound to learn new moves and concepts from each other. And while new blood is a great thing, only adding rookie signees just won't build a more diverse or experienced roster. And let's be honest, in-ring performance needs a good mixture of the right kind of fighting style and experience to create an even playing field. More interesting feuds. And no, we're not counting whatever you call the Nightmare Collective as an interesting feud or story development. We're not sure why Awesome Kong wants to cut everyone's hair, or what they do with the hair, or what the group is even about, but we do know AEW can do a better job making the fans care about their women wrestlers. In November 2019, Britt Baker and Bea Priestley were scheduled to face each other at the Full Gear pay-per-view pre-show, The Buy-In. Building up the match, there was little actual feud development, except for some rumors about fights backstage and some shallow in-ring storytelling. That said, Bea Priestley is phenomenal at character development, and when she cut an incredible promo insulting Britt for being a dentist and not a real wrestler, the feud suddenly became interesting and fans were immediately invested.
And you want to go around saying that I'm unprofessional? You are a f***ing dentist.
Britt also cut a promo to Bea, and though Britt is personable and already well liked, her work on this promo took her likability and babyface status to the next level. AEW got lucky with a poorly developed feud because their talent was able to overcome the lack of story with their strongest traits. AEW also got lucky with Emi and Riho with their built-in history before coming to AEW, where Emi actually trained Riho over in Japan. Pair that history with their incredible wrestling skills, and AEW was able to pull another fascinating story out of their hat. But they won't be able to ride that out for too long before fans become frustrated. If AEW insists on signing new wrestlers that most fans won't recognize, they at least need to establish a reason for fans to care about a wrestler. And the way to do that is to build proper feuds. Of course, there are notable exceptions like Chris Statlander and Big Swole, as they were already loved on the indie scene, but we still don't have those stories being told to help round out the division and elevate all their wrestlers. Give the Women's World Championship some clout. Without the proper backstory, feud build, reign history, or title defenses, a championship belt is just, well, a big fancy belt. The current and so far the only AEW Women's World Champion is Riho, who won the belt during the belt's debut match versus Nyla Rose at the inaugural episode of Dynamite on October 2nd, 2019. Since then, Riho has defended the title in 4 matches. The Fatal 4-Way title match that aired on New Year's Day was a last-minute match change to accommodate Kris Statlander's indie schedule. The other 3 title defenses were singles matches, each against completely different opponents: Kris Statlander, Britt Baker, and Emi Sakura. The Fatal 4-Way included Britt, but also included Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose. So that means 4 title defenses included 5 different opponents, none of which Riho had actually had a feud with, except for the happy mistake that we mentioned with Emi earlier. Without stories, feuds, or angles, fans have only really been able to make a judgment call on who should be the champ based completely on their in-ring work and knowledge of their previous work either in AEW or on the indies. The belt is missing the clout that comes with serious title matches featuring wrestlers with a serious backstory. Why is Britt Baker getting a title shot? Why Kris Statlander? And why is Riho being protected by retaining every single time? In other promotions, we would have answers because of creative writing. In AEW, we're lost on motivations, other than a really sloppy ranking system that sets people up as #1 contenders, but that can change with one singular match because the way that it's weighted is really strange. Simply put, AEW needs to create a solid creative team to make fans care not only about the wrestlers, but about the belts and the esteem they want us to believe the belts represent. Once we know why we should care, we will. Let wrestlers with strong gimmicks be themselves. The top guys of AEW have a long-running YouTube show called Being the Elite, where they give fans an insider view of their lives, work, and relationships. Sometimes it's scripted heavily, and sometimes it's wrestling's equivalent of VH1's Behind the Music. Some of the most interesting parts of the show are the ones where fans can get to know the talent of AEW a little better, which comes in handy for wrestlers fairly new to the scene, like Kris Statlander. Her gimmick is simple: she's an alien. A lot of fans didn't get the gimmick, but a funny segment featuring Kris playing her role on Being the Elite changed a lot of minds, and suddenly AEW's fan base was all aboard the alien spaceship. AEW has a roster full of women who have built-in characters. Some of them are even listed on the promotion's website right under their name. Penelope Ford is the bad girl. Leva Bates is the librarian. Yuka Sakazaki is the magical girl. And I think that we all know that Britt Baker is a doctor. Without letting the roster use their natural talents, the gimmicks they had coming into AEW, or even the titles that have just been attached to them, fans unfortunately won't be able to connect with their characters. And now look at the reception to the galaxy's greatest alien, Kris Statlander. That's an invasion I can get behind. Use the roster to its full potential, including giving them the proper time. There's been a combined 28 episodes between Dark and Dynamite, but the amount of matches each woman has participated in ranges from 9 to 0. It's rare that the women of AEW will see more than one match dedicated to them on any given episode of Dark or Dynamite, and that doesn't create a lot of opportunities for the women to shine or to get the proper airtime. And the opportunities they do give to the roster members are heavily weighted in favor of certain wrestlers. Britt Baker has wrestled in 9 matches during the 28 episodes, but Sadie Gibbs has only had 2. Penelope Ford has had time as a valet for Kip Sabian, but Penelope can wrestle, and you wouldn't guess it when she's only been allowed to participate in 2 matches all year. 8 different women who are not signed with AEW appeared on Dark and Dynamite last year, mostly in squash matches, but those matches did nothing for the roster that AEW does have. Fans will respond to that argument with, but there's only so many women you can put in one match, and that's certainly part of the problem: match time. During matches that aired in 2019, women's wrestling accounted for 18% of total Dynamite match time and 24% of total Dark match time. And in 2019 pay-per-views, women only saw an abysmal 13% of total match time on the main card. The women of AEW are not being given the proper time to be showcased, so naturally the amount of women who get to participate in matches frequently is low. In order to build characters and story, they have to let their roster get the time they need to build those arcs. And in order to get the time they need, AEW needs to dedicate more time to women's wrestling on their television and pay-per-view cards. Continue on the path of diversity by using talent share to their advantage. Talent sharing with other promotions can only improve improve the women's division within AEW. Yes, the women who are already signed deserve time in the ring, but suppose they found the right balance with that aspect. AEW can continue to talent share with various indie promotions, Joshi promotions, and the scenes overseas to switch up the style of wrestling, pace, experience level, and foster the stories that have already been developed. By balancing their mainstays with new blood, AEW gives high visibility opportunities to women from the indie scene and prevents boredom or matches with their mainstays from going stale. AEW could benefit from using talent share as sort of a tryout, seeing how the women from the outside scenes fit within their structure and how they get along with their women's division. Overall, AEW could only add more value to their already diverse roster by utilizing the wrestlers who are hungry for television time in promotions all around the world. Get the good matches on television and use Dark as a developmental territory. When fans hear developmental territory, they think of NXT, and NXT has certainly changed over the last few years, specifically the quality of wrestling both in NXT and from NXT, and how the division is now aired weekly on a cable network. AEW could follow that same format and allow those who prefer to watch their wrestling on television get the best bang for their cable buck. Let the best built matches shine on Dynamite and use that cable contract to the best advantage. Dark airs free on YouTube, and although it's free to those who can catch the show, Dark frequently airs stellar matches that outshine matches on Dynamite. Now this might seem like alienating the fan base who can't afford cable, but what AEW would really be doing is making those on the undercard stronger and better. If the greener women or women who have been slow to learn are aired on Dark in matches made to develop and improve their skills, those women will improve, and the fans who do watch Dark will get to see how progress is really being made with their favorite wrestlers. Using these suggestions, we think the AEW women's division can only become stronger over time, supporting and showcasing the strongest and most talented women in wrestling today. What do you think of our suggestions? Do you agree with them? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video, and if this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything Midcard Maniacs.